your book sideways. Okay, so this is how it was. Turn it sideways. Okay, we're going to make this on our journal. So do you see how it has lines going up and down? Okay, each one of these is one of those lines. So in the first line is where you're going to have this place value. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3 lines over. On the next one, put your decimal. So I'll walk you through that now. Okay, so starting on that first line, you have your thousandths place. I kind of went off. Thousandths place. Okay, your next one, that is your hundredths place. Now the big difference between the hundredths place and the hundreds place is this THS, okay? So that THS tells me that all of these are decimals, and you're going to see the same thing with the next one. The next one is our tenths place, and it has that THS, and so did our thousandths. So that tells me that those numbers are decimals, okay? Those are my decimal numbers. So I have my thousandths, my hundredths, and my tens. Make sure you have that in your journal. Okay, and Miss High can pause this video at any time to where you can write it down. Okay, so I have my thousandths, my hundredths, and my tenths. Next, I have my decimal. So you need to make sure you write in that decimal. Now, when we make that decimal say its name, we call it and. So whenever we're working with decimal numbers, the decimal is always and. A-N-D, and. Okay. When I move next to my decimal, on this side, these are our whole numbers. So this one would be the ones place. O-N-E-S, ones, okay? Ones place. I move to my next place value, and I have my tens place. And we've learned about this in earlier grades. We're just bringing it all back. Okay, so we have our ones, tens, next is hundreds. So we go ones, tens, hundreds, comma. We have our comma, okay? And then we have our thousands place. Okay? After our thousands, we follow just like we did over here. So we have our 10,000s place. And then after our 10,000s, we have our 100,000s. Okay, then we have another comma, so make sure you put that comma in there. After our 100,000s and our comma, we go into the millions. And we're going to stop at the millions today. We might play around with some tens and hundred millions later on. But we're going to stop there today. So you want to make sure that yours looks just like mine. If not, raise your hand. Let Miss Height know that you need some time so that she can pause the video. Okay? After it looks just like mine, we're going to play around with some numbers and putting them into this. Okay? So the first thing that I want to teach y'all though is about the difference between a whole number and a decimal number. So if you're looking at the number 3 is a whole number, okay? So does it have any decimal with it? Do you see a decimal? No. The one thing I want you to always remember, if you do not see a decimal in the number, if this is a whole number, you do not see a decimal, the decimal always, always, always goes at the end. Say that with me. If you do not see a decimal, it goes at the end. Say it with me. If you do not see a decimal, it goes at the end. One more time. If you do not see a decimal, it goes at the end. Okay, so this was my whole number. I've added a decimal, and let's say I want to add 1/10. You notice how I said tenth? Okay, that makes it a decimal number. This right here becomes a decimal number. So I had 3 and, because remember I can't say 3 decimal, I say 3 and, I gave it a name, 3 and 1/10. Okay, so when I go to put this on my new chart that I just made in my journal, I'm sure it looks beautiful, okay, I take this, I look at my decimal first. You always want to look at your decimal first. This is the same as when you're doing those gridables on the STAR test. You always go to your decimal. So I have my decimal and my decimal. Okay, I look and see what is on this side of my decimal, my decimal number, okay? I have a 1. This is in the tens place. So I go to my tens place and I put a 1, okay? I know I had my decimal. So then in front of my decimal was a 3. This is in the ones place. So I go to the ones place and I put a 3. So I know that this is 3 and, because my chart up here tells me to say and, 3 and 1/10. So wherever your number stops, that's where you go back up to the top and you make it say the name that it's in. So 3 and 1/10. Okay? We're going to play around with some different numbers. So, let's try this number. Let's see if anybody can figure out this one. That looks kind of tricky. I have a lot of numbers. I see a comma. I see a decimal. Let's go put it in our chart so that it can tell us exactly what to say. So where do I start at? Do I start at my 4? No, I'm not going to start with my 4. I'm going to go to my decimal. So start your decimal. Go over here and put your decimal. Okay. So I see my decimal. On this side I have a 0. So I put a 0 in the tenths column. Okay. Then I go next door and I see a 3. So I go next door here and I put a 3. I have a 3 in my hundredths column. Okay. Am I done? No, I still have all of this to put in my chart. So go back to your decimal and go to this side. I have a 1 in the ones place. Then I go next door again. I see a 0 in the tens place. Then I go next door again. I have a 5 in the hundreds place. Oh, I have this thing. Well, I put it in my chart. So I bring that comma down and I go next door and I have a 4 in the thousands place. So whenever I'm reading this and I get to that comma, I'm not going to say comma. That would be silly. I go up and I say 4,000 because that's the last place value. So 4,501 and, so 4,501 and 3 hundredths. Okay? Why didn't I say that 0? Does that 0 hold any value right there? No, I go to the 3. So I have 4,501 and 3 hundredths. Okay? Remember that decimal says and. All right?